My name is Dr. Teresa Larson, and I am the founder of Movement RX, and I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I assist leaders and business owners grappling with client loss, employee retention challenges, and business scalability issues that stem from the leaders' own mental and physical well-being blind spots. I do this through teaching business owners and leaders how to create a competitive advantage by dialing in their own well-being across 5 key health categories that impact how they show up for themselves, their people, and their families. The personal results are leaders that are able to thrive in their roles at home and at work. The business results are a stronger and more vibrant company culture, a business without hidden friction slowing it down, and most importantly, happier, empowered, and more engaged human beings. For the past 10 years, my team and I have worked with hundreds of business owners and leaders who in their first year of working with us have achieved breakthroughs like increasing revenue by 20% or solving the great resignation within their organization. However, most importantly, we have helped thousands of human beings, from leaders to their people, feel better and more empowered on a daily basis to handle all the challenges that come with growth and living a full life.
Hey, I want to take a second to just give a massive shout out to Teresa Larson. I had the rare opportunity to actually spend some time with Teresa at one of her events that she was putting on. And I got to tell you, it really opened my mind to more things than I was really thinking about as a CEO. And we all need somebody like Teresa to just kind of kick us back on the tracks and really keep us going every single day.
I am excited to connect with you about your event and would love to talk to you about how we can partner together to make your event a wow moment and experience for everyone who attends. If you are interested in learning more about our leader-focused competitive advantage trainings for your business, connect with me by signing up for your competitive advantage training call using the link provided. Remember, your well-being matters.
Welcome to HomeFront Sitrep. I hope you're in for a great show today, because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out HomeFront Sitrep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Monday edition of HomeFront Sitrep. How is everybody? Mr. Ty Cobb, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I love your intro. It's like a ride at Disney. You never
I
know
know,
when it's
right?
it's leading you around the next corner.
No, I know, man. I love it. Talents, Mr. Chris at talenttalents.com. He created that intro for me, and
I like it.
I tell you what, I love it. Mr. JR, oh, you got it. All right.
No, I'm sorry. Habit. It's a bad habit.
No, you're good. That's what I got you here for. Anyway, man, I tell you what, we're got a great show lined up for you guys. I know I've been posting on Facebook. We're going to bring in Veterans Villages, the CEOO. I guess that's what you would call her, Miss Dana Spain. We're going to bring her up on stage, and she's going to talk about Veterans Villages up there in Pennsylvania. How are you, Miss Dana?
I am great. I also love that interest, that intro. I'm like ready to go to the range and blow stuff up.
I know, right? I love
That's
it.
what I'm talking about.
And then I got Dr. Teresa Larson, her commercial on there, and I just had her on, and she's a Marine Corps veteran, and what she does for big corporations and small companies when she goes in and she, talks with the employee resource groups and stuff like that. Just the things that, how she builds leadership within the company and stuff like that. It's simply amazing. So I had to throw her commercial on there. So how was your weekend up there, Miss Dana?
Our weekend is, we have a myriad of activities here in Arizona. So
that's right. You're in Arizona.
Yeah, my husband and I are enjoying, he's retired law enforcement. I am trying very hard to retire, but I just keep getting roped back in. I have more villages to build, but otherwise my big girl job, I'm trying to horseback ride and be on the range as much as possible as I kayak my way into retirement. But it's beautiful here in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
It's the only state right now that doesn't have weather events.
Oh no, it's stupid cold here in Kentucky right now. I mean, and tomorrow they already called school off. They're going to make it an NTI day because it's going to be like 8 degrees in the morning. It's just like, holy cow, man. So
come on down here at 66 degrees.
Ty, you're in Houston. What is the weather in Houston?
Well, I mean, right now it's like 20, 28 or something like that. So our infrastructure is not built for this, and my bones aren't like this. I don't like the cold. I need to move to Arizona. I got family out there in Scottsdale. I need to go out there and stay.
That's where we are. Come on down.
Oh, a little bit of golf.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, I got a buddy that's out in, he runs the AT&T Veterans chapter of Arizona, and I want to say they're outside of Phoenix somewhere, maybe like an hour or two outside of Phoenix. So, and he's like, man, you need to come out here. You need to come out here. You need to come out here. And I haven't done it yet, but one of these days I'll get planned out there. And that's my wife there. She says, I hate the cold.
I agree, Julie.
So tell us a little bit of how you got involved, because I know before it was the VBC Given Foundation. Now it's transitioned to Veterans Villages. But tell me how you got involved with the Veterans Villages and stuff like that.
Okay, well, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to go back to really the genesis of the creation of our first village. And that was that I founded and was running at the time a small but mighty transitional shelter for homeless female veterans. It originally was the Philadelphia Veterans Comfort House. There were some financial shenanigans, and the VA pulled their money, and it was just in disarray, and the board was disbanding. And I had done some pro bono work for them, and they came to me and said, we don't know what to do with it anymore, but if you'd like, we'll just hand you the keys and you can make something of it or not, and blah. So I took over that house, which was absolutely in disarray and a physical disgrace as well. I went to my dad, who was my business guru, an Army vet, alive at the time, and said, I don't know if I should take over this homeless shelter. And my father said, well, how much is it going to really cost to make this into something that's respectable and our veterans deserve? And I said, I don't know, $250,000. He said, yeah, we could raise that in our sleep. Let's go do it. So I jumped into the deep end of the pool, as I often do, and took over the building. And we made it into a spectacular sort of sorority for our female veterans who were coming out of addiction recovery programs, transitional programs, homeless shelters, and we put them through some very rigorous enrichment programs. They were with us on an average, about 9 months. And the problem that needed a solution was when our ladies were ready to go back into productive civilian life and independent living, the government agencies were putting them in abject squalor, bad neighborhoods, drug activity, buildings that should have been condemned, scattered sites where they didn't have the camaraderie and the support of fellow veterans. And what happens when you're put in that situation, when you have a background of trauma and potentially addiction? You start self-harm and making bad decisions, and then the cycle repeats itself. So again, this is 3 years down the line, I went to my dad and said, I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall because the agencies are treating our ladies who fought for our country like chess pieces, maybe not even checks in a box, lettered, numbers on a piece of paper. And he said, you build buildings for a living. So let's show the government how it's done. And we're going to build a building where our veterans can live together in safe, respectable, resilient housing that they can afford and have the camaraderie of their brothers and sisters. So if they do have a bad day and want to make bad decisions, they can knock on 46 other doors and somebody's going to answer and say, let's have a cup of coffee or walk around the block or sit out in the garden, and we're going to help each other through it. So that was the concept of Veterans Villages.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, I see that a lot. Like when I was talking with Edgar, you're one of your financial guys on the last episode, I was telling him that veteran homelessness is one of my passions. We started thinking small, and I saw, the Veterans Village in Kansas City. Then I saw the one in Las Vegas, and then Las Vegas now has, I believe, 3. And I was like, man, we need that here in Kentucky. And I started, I run AT&T Veterans Kentucky. I'm the president for the ERG here in Kentucky, and also the chairman for our veterans committee for my local union. And I was like, look, we need to do something here in Kentucky involving tiny homes and stuff. So we started making our connections with Operation Victory. Now what Operation Victory is they take a dilapidated home, rebuild it, and give it to a homeless veteran. So my daughters and I would go up and do demo days where I take volunteers up there, and local unions bring other volunteers in, and we demo the house. And then once it's completely demoed, we start bringing in union contractors, and they start, redoing the drywall, redoing the plumbing, the electrical. And then once it's done, we dedicate that home to a homeless veteran after, they've been vetted and everything. And then the house is theirs. So I was like, we need something in between, either a between ground, because you got your programs like the Salvation Army, the Healing Place, that do the initial intake where they try to, help the veteran get off of drugs or alcohol or whatever their situation is. But there was no middle ground. So when they got done with that program, there was no middle ground. So they fell back into that same rut, like you were just saying, that there was nowhere for them to go. And then the third step, which was Operation Victory, where they could get a house. But in the meantime, the government, put them back in squalor. Like you said, there was nowhere for them to go. So we started a program where we had 5 acres of land donated to us. This is right before COVID hit, and we had everything lined up with, the way it was going to look. We had everything laid out. All we had to do was get the funding. COVID happened, and then everything went. We couldn't get funding. We couldn't do anything. And then after I left that organization, 2 months later, they canceled the project. And I want to bring that back out, because it's like I said, that's one of my passions. And what you guys have created up there in Philadelphia up there is amazing. I've seen the video of the layout of the property up there. Now, these are all, if I remember correctly,
Right,
I know, I love it. Now, is that like prefabbed, where they're made somewhere else and then brought on site and put together?
So prefab is kind of a catch-all, and it's kind of like a square and a rectangle. So yes and no. It is in fact modular construction systems, which means that they're kind of like big fat Legos. We are not flat pack. They're not manufactured homes, but they are manufactured in a manufacturing facility. This one was done in Hamlet, North Carolina, with 13% of the workforce there are veterans themselves. So it was very heartwarming. And we have just a lot of interviews and testimonials from from the guys and gals on the manufacturing line that were just taking such pride in putting these together. So each apartment is either one or several modules, but when they arrive, they're giant Legos. So picture 14 to 15 foot wide by 40 to 60 feet deep, and they come in on specialized rigs and then they're craned into place. But inside the apartment is almost completely finished. So all your cabinetry is in, your solid surface countertops, your appliances, your flooring, your bathrooms, anything that doesn't swing in transit is already in. So once the Lego pieces are put together and then it's waterproofed and then on-site utilities are plugged in, you have yourself an apartment building. It's a much swifter and more environmentally friendly and energy efficient way of building a building. And speaking of weather, as we were doing in pre-show, if you've ever seen, and I'm sure you have quite a bit, you go by a construction site and all the plywood for the building is up, but it's raining or it's snowing. What's happening there? So you have expansion of wood, contraction of wood, you have water infiltration that leads to mold. None of that happens with modular construction because it's in a climate controlled environment and our wood never sees water and everything is waterproof before it leaves the factory. So there's no mold infiltration, there's no cracks, there's every building made of wood is going to settle, but it's not going to settle as significantly because of the wood variations. So it's just a nicer way to build. And that's how I was building on the for-profit side. And I wouldn't want anything less for our veterans. So this building is very much built as a market rate apartment building, first class finishes all the way around, but it's affordable housing so that our veterans can live within their means, either with direct pay or by using HUD-VASH if they qualify.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask that because we had that set up here in Kentucky too, because we were going to use shipping container homes instead of the stick-built homes. We were we had a company come in. They were going to donate the shipping containers. There was going to be a little bit of cost to it, but overall, with shipping containers, was going to be much better for maintenance and stuff than your stick-built homes. And this right here, where they're already, they're pre-made and they're basically put together like Legos. I mean, that's pretty neat. I'd like to see that, that process as it's happening, as a crane comes in and sets them in place. I think that'd be pretty neat. And then, the finished product, you can go to, the website, is it veteranvillages.com, I believe?
Org.
Yeah. You can go to the veteransvillages.org and you can actually see a 6-minute or 5-minute video of the veterans seeing the property and stuff like that. And you go in there and you can check the pictures that are on the website as well. I think what you guys are doing up there, and then what you're trying to do throughout the country, because I know you're working on a project in Chicago for female veterans. There you go. Thank you, Ty. What you guys are doing out there, or up there and out in Arizona, I think it's simply amazing. I'm reading the comments. Sorry about that.
I really like the fact that the construction goes on with veterans. I'm sure the transport, if possible, can go on with veterans, and the construction or putting together of the modular homes, the in-house camaraderie. Oh man, I love the concept. Thank you very much for doing this. I'm more into getting therapy for people, but we, of course, in Houston, we have a huge homeless veteran issue as well. So thank you very much. I love the concept, and I can't wait to learn more about it. And I apologize for not being educated on thus far.
No, that's quite all right. And Ty and Willis, wherever we're fielding opportunities from all across the country. And so what we're looking for is the next logical place to put a shovel in the ground. And to do that, we need local partners.
Right.
The reason that the first one was built in Philadelphia is because at the time I was based in Philadelphia. My company was based in Philadelphia. The manufacturing company, even though we were manufacturing in North Carolina, is based in Philadelphia. So we had a lot of boots on the ground and eyes on the prize. We needed to really understand how it all came together and to make sure that it was viable and that it works before we go out and do it somewhere that we're not as familiar with the municipalities and how the locals, and whether we have not in my backyard people who don't want veterans in their neighborhood. And by the way, that exists. I know it's shocking, and it was shocking to me, but it does exist. So now we're looking at partnerships where we have an open source template. We will come to wherever we're asked to come. So somebody has land, or they have entitled land, which is even better, or they have an organization that might be doing onesie, twosies, houses, tiny homes, rehabs, and say, you know what, we're ready to take the next step and build a full building and a full village. We'll help them every step of the way. So we don't need to be the ones putting the shovel in the ground. We have the formula, and we'll come and help somebody get it done, whether that's an organization, an individual, a faith-based group, another VSO. We will help people, because even if we built one a year, which is really our goal, we're not going to be able to dig ourselves out of veteran housing insecurity, let alone veteran homelessness ourselves. Right. So we need to have that sort of consortium of like-minded individuals and organizations working together. And what I have found in the veteran space, because I've been involved in a myriad of charities over the last 30 years and have founded, this is my third that I founded on my own, is that some industries do not play well together. There's a myriad of industries in the charitable sector that are very not so charitable. They are very competitive, and they don't share information. And so every time you go to do something, it's like recreating the wheel. What I find in the VSO community is that everybody's goal of helping veterans live better lives and thrive, and respecting their service, and the fact that the government has let them down after their separation from service, everybody seems to play well with others. And so we share that information, and so groups don't have to start from scratch. If they want to build a village, I'm going to show them how to build a village.
You know, I love it. And you hit that right on the head, where there's a lot of organizations out there, they don't want to work with other organizations because they're afraid that if Mr. Ty Cobb is with this organization, but he found this organization that's going to help him out better, they're afraid that this organization is going to lose the funding for right. Ty, you know, and it just blows my mind how veteran service organizations out there that don't want to work with other organizations. I know Ty and I and the rest of the guys that are in our little group that we have, we do a Tip of the Spear Veterans Roundtable. And we've talked about that numerous times, where you have to work together. If you want to solve a problem, you have to work together. And if you don't, then it's just, you know, things are going to fall through the cracks. That's so, right. And my wife here, she said right here, she said that happens so often, and it's infuriating that people shy away from veterans near them. This is so remarkable. One per year would be amazing. And she, you know, right on the head.
Well, so, you know, it's, I have to say, I'm sorry, I feel like I have something in my eye. That's why I'm fidgety over here. I do have to say, the one organization, the neighborhood organization that we approached, that said, okay, we bought the land and the land was entitled, but we like to play well with others, and we don't want to just build a building without talking to the neighborhood association. And they painted veterans as if there was something wrong with them. There was something intrinsically damaged about veterans, and that they would be a threat to the community or something. And we persuaded them otherwise. But I really was so surprised, sort of walking into that first meeting, what they were throwing at me, that I found myself ill prepared to make a really coherent argument for why they were so wrong on so many levels. And it taught me a lesson that, you know, not everybody is as like-minded as we are, that want to serve and honor our veterans. And so some neighborhoods are, yay, you know, veterans, send them our way because we know they're going to make good neighbors, and others are not. So you just have to be cognizant of that there are NIMBYs, even when it comes to the veteran community. Thankfully, we set in very, very well in this community in Philadelphia. Has a long, storied veteran history from that neighborhood, and several surrounding high schools where, whole groups of people who were drafted in the Vietnam War era have now moved back into that neighborhood. We have a cadre of Vietnam War era gentlemen living with us in the village. And they're great storytellers and historians about their journey from the Frankfurt section through various other places in their lives and pitfalls that they faced. And now they feel that they've finally, after all of these years, found a safe place to call home. And that's usually, we all take for granted having a roof over our head and a safe place to call home and to lie our heads every night, right? We can figure everything else out generally in our lives once we have that safe haven. And so for a lot of the veterans that we see, they haven't figured it out until they come to us and say, wow, now I feel safe and secure, and now I can work on all the other stuff. Because with housing insecurity, where you think that you might be homeless at a moment's notice or kicked out of your apartment, or you're couch surfing or sleeping in your car or your church or a train station, how can you deal with all of the other trauma in your life? So this takes that one big step to give people a really safe, resilient place where they feel respected. And as I mentioned earlier, they're with their brothers and sisters. So even though our age ranges and we have male and female and families living there, and every race and creed, the theme is we've all served, we've all seen it, we all know. Their stories might be different, their eras might be different, but that common thread really makes a difference. In fact, the first couple months that we opened the village, the residents themselves set up their own command and their own watch.
Right.
And everybody has structure.
Somebody had to pull security.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Fire guard.
It's very interesting to see because, it's in a nice working class neighborhood, but it's not a great neighborhood. It's not a terrible neighborhood, but it's kind of right on the edge. And we have a beautiful property with lots of green space and a parking lot. And we have basically a full patrol. Some of our residents are in wheelchairs or on scooters, and they're still patrolling the parking lot like they've been, they're MPs. They're making sure there's no nefarious activity or illegal dumping, and there's no drug activity. And they keep themselves in order within the building. It's really been, I wouldn't say amazing, because that was the concept from the beginning, but to see it come to fruition is really amazing.
Yeah. And when you said the stigma of, veterans being broken, when we were doing our project and we had to go talk to the surrounding neighborhoods because the property was surrounded by houses on all sides, and the person who was building, that was trying to build there, he had a lot of struggle with getting something approved because the neighborhood didn't want, apartments coming in there. They didn't, want this or that. So we had to have our meetings with the people, the neighborhoods around. Then we had to go have a meeting with the mayor's office, and we had to go have a meeting with, his team. And like you said, the stigma of these veterans being broken, we had to break that, because a lot of these veterans, yeah, sure, they have issues or had issues, but they're working on getting themselves better. And if they're homeless, all they're worried about is where they're going to get their next meal at, or where they're going to get their, where they're going to lay their head at that night. And when you have a house or somewhere to sleep, you can focus on yourself instead of focusing on where you're sleeping or where you're getting your next food. So, and what you guys are doing there, and we're, they're performing fire watch in the neighborhood, walking the building and the perimeter. I mean, that's definitely military minded. That's super cool. Welcome to the show, Al. How are you tonight,
hey,
sir?
Bro. Hey, sorry. Ty texted me. He was like, "Hey, you jumping on?" I'm like, yeah, it's like 7:00. I got time. What time? He's like, pretty much like, I looked, I was like, oh, it's Eastern time. I'm in Central time. So I'm in the weird world. Right. So I was like, oh, yeah. Well, better late than never. I'm retired now. So 15 minutes prior, doesn't really apply to me anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Miss Dana was saying she's trying to retire as well. So, but she's living out there in luxurious Arizona. So she's loving it.
It's probably good weather there compared to what it's going to be here the next couple of days.
Oh, it sure is. I invited everybody to come down. This week it's going to be 70 degrees. Right now it's 66 and not a cloud in the sky.
So I'm arguing my wife because it was 71 today in Florida. And she's like, the weather's saying tomorrow is going to be 18. I'm like, there's no way. Like, I'm not believing it. Like, I'm not prepping. I'm not cutting no sinks on. I ain't wrapping no pipes. I don't believe it. We're going to find out tomorrow if I'm right or she is.
Yeah.
But no, what Dana was saying a minute ago, Willis, about, so I don't like the term broken. Like when they refer to veterans as broken, it really fucking pisses me off. Like, it makes me want to fight, right? Because here's the fact. I don't believe as a veteran you can break us. Like we can't be broken, right? We can have some cracks and we can have some issues and we can have some, some life-altering situations. But when people are like, oh, they're broken veterans, that's bullshit. Civilians, y'all get broken. Y'all get broken because you guys have never been through what we've been through. You've never, you never achieved what we've achieved. You've never done the things we've done, been downrange, fought alongside your brothers and sisters. So when a civilian's like, oh, veterans are broken, no, you're broken. You people get broken because you've never been tried, tested at all, for the most part, right? Comparatively, right? So when somebody's like, oh, the broken veterans, and you have to go and talk to people to make sure it's okay. Like, it's crazy to me to hear that because I'm cracked and I've got some scars and I've got some dirt on the armor, but trust me, I didn't break during basic training. I didn't break during combat tours. You sure ain't going to break me now that I'm out the service, right? I may need a handout, or I may need some help, or I may need somebody to come in and assist me. Like if I was homeless, right? Just because if I was a homeless veteran, that doesn't equal broken. That equals a bad situation that I'm in currently, that I'm planning on getting out of eventually, or fighting to get out of, or hope that somebody like the veteran villages are going to come along and help me with my current situation. But it ain't a broken situation. It's a shitty situation, but it ain't broken. We ain't broken. So when people say broken veterans, it makes me want to fist fight them because the military for 22 years couldn't break me. My current circumstance isn't going to break me either, because that's what we are. That, we are warriors, no matter what you've done and where you've served. That's what we are. You don't break warriors, right? We retire, but doesn't mean I'm ever out of the fight. I'm always in the fight, no matter what situation. So yeah, it bothers me when I hear the broken term.
I'm going to add to your fiery response, Al, by telling you that if you polled, I don't know, Jack, Jill, and Sue Q Public about what a homeless or housing insecure veteran looks like, they're going to tell you it's that Vietnam era man on a corner with some cardboard, right?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons, and I think this was prior to you jumping on here, that I ran a homeless shelter for female veterans, is that's
right.
The crisis. And increasingly, female veterans make up 10% of all homeless and housing insecure veterans.
Right.
And it's on the rise, and nobody thinks about that. And so when I say that we have people who are living with us who are in their late 20s, early 30s, all the way into their 70s, and black, white, brown, yellow, pick one, male, female, with kids, without kids, divorced, married, this, that, the other thing. And people are like, oh, well, that's not what I think of when I think of a homeless veteran, or I think of a veteran that's housing insecure.
Right.
Because there's a perception, and it's not made any better by advertising, movies, political ads, what have you. There's that stereotype, which has become an archetype of that's the guy with the cardboard on the corner.
Right.
And usually, in my experience, because I've worked with a lot of VSOs, and I'm the gal who stops at the corner, not to give this person money, but to tell them where they can get aid and help and the programs that they need. They have no idea. They have no idea.
You know why though, Dana? I would say, I think a part of that problem probably lies with the fact that the veteran community is a very, very proud community, right? And I think for veterans, a lot of times, we don't ask for help, right? I mean,
Right.
the three of us on this call alone, I mean, it took me to retire and my wife to be like, if you don't fix what's going on with you, like, we're going to have some problems, right?
Right.
So I think that because it's especially that Vietnam era, like those are some fierce warriors. I mean, they fought in a war that was unimaginable, right? And I've
Right.
served in Iraq with Ty and Willis. Like we've served we've all been downrange and been our combat veterans. But those men and women served in a fierce, scary time, right? And I think that pride is a factor when it comes to, people saying, oh, the homeless veteran community or broken veterans or crazy. They're all veterans, the homeless, they're all crazy. No, they're not. They're very proud. They're very proud of their service. They're very proud of the commitment they made to this country. And it's sad that the country, as a whole, that's not a bigger priority than it is. But I think it comes into, we don't want to ask for help, right? We don't want a handout. We don't want. I would rather pick up trash and cans to support my family and feed myself than to ask somebody to give me $1, right? I'll work for that $1. You tell me what you need me to do. I don't want to ask for help. So I think that pride, unfortunately, gets in the way a lot of times because we're a very proud community. We're proud of what we've done. We're proud of what we're going to do. I mean, it's
Right.
It sucks because that situation is hard to get people out of, right? If I'm not going to reach out to you and look for help, you got to hope that help's going to find you. And a lot of times it just doesn't.
No, I get where you're coming from, not especially, but I've seen it very specifically in the female homeless and housing insecure community, that they're afraid to ask for help because they might lose their children into the system. Right. Or they're afraid to ask for help because it shows weakness, and they already have to work hard to prove that they're strong as soldiers or Marines or airwomen or whatever you want to call them. So I see that very much. But I also, when you're talking about Vietnam War era, those are heroes that came home when the country blamed them specifically, right? It certainly wasn't a hero's welcome on the way home.
No.
Right. So they had a whole extra layer of shunning from their own communities that added to that self-harm and addiction and sort of being lost in the system. But correct. I think what really, and you probably already know this from my bio, but full disclosure, I was what, Bugs Bunny would have considered 4F. So I didn't serve because I have inherent physical problems that wouldn't allow me to serve. So from the time that I was in college and hung out with a bunch of ROTCs, I knew that my service would be to those who had the privilege and honor of wearing the uniform, and dedicated a good portion of my life to working with both active military families and veterans in the veteran community. And what just kills me is how there's pockets, obviously, but when you look at what Americans think about as important writ large, and what we spend our trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars on, it is not our veteran community. No. It's not their healthcare. It's not their disability benefits. It's not educating them when they're separating from the service. It's not financial literacy. It's not taking care of them when they need the care. It is not housing, for sure. And it makes me so angry that we spend money on some frivolous bullshit every single minute of every single day, coming out of Congress and the Senate and executive orders, and all the way down to city and municipal levels, where we did this building without one penny of city, state, or federal funding because they don't give a shit. They're happy to come for the opening and cut a big ribbon. But basically what they tell us all the way along, oh, there's no money for that. There's no money for that. Well, there's money for a lot of other bullshit.
Why they want FaceTime? They like the FaceTime. They like to show up and it looks good, right? It got a campaign coming up. It is. It's absolutely, because the programs and things that are offered to us as service members now, separating from the service, like it's light years beyond what it was, right? And it has gotten better. Like me and Ty joke all the time, like my process getting out and getting disability and all that, and it was smooth. I mean, and I did it all myself. It was so easy. And I hear horror stories, but you're talking about a system of veterans who it was pretty much, thank you for your service, good fucking luck. That's pretty much what it was, right? I came back. I flew back in from Iraq, and I'll never forget. I flew into Bangor. Isn't it? That's in Maine, right? Bangor.
Yeah,
So
Bangor,
I flew
Maine.
into Bangor, Maine, and there were people lined up. We were coming off the plane, shaking our hands, hugging our hands, asking for autographs. Like, you're talking about a world of people who came back from serving their country to no money, no jobs, and people who hated them, and like you said, a system that blamed them. Like, it's so night and day comparatively where we're at now, and even the systems. And if I was a homeless veteran right now, right, and I didn't know, like, it's all about education. If you don't know that there's a system or a program out there for you, then you just don't know. You're just going to sit where you're at and do what you're doing. Like, there's it's hopelessness. You don't see the options. You don't see, a doorway to get from where you're at to where you want to be. Right. So your program is amazing. Right. So, I mean, but it's all about getting the word out and educating that these programs do exist.
Exactly, which is why the importance of this program and the other podcasts and news that I do on a regular basis, but it's also the importance of the VSOs coming together and playing well in the sandbox so that we don't do everything, right? I'm a big believer in understanding what I can do well and surrounding myself with people who have skill sets of things that I don't do as well as they do, but also we can't be everything to everybody, right? I know how to build a great building. I know how to raise money. I know how to raise awareness. But there's other groups that we work with, Veterans Multi-Service Center in Philadelphia. They do an amazing job. They're wraparound services. They make sure that every single veteran that they touch gets every single benefit that they deserve. They navigate the morass of bureaucracy on behalf of the veterans. They make referrals to us for housing, and they make sure that that veteran, once in our care, is still getting the mental and physical health care that they need, and that they have their full disability or their full benefits if they're working. So there's groups like that that we work with on a regular basis because we don't do what they do and they don't do what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. You were talking about, city funding or state funding and stuff like that. I know when we were doing our project, it was the name Camp Restoration, and we were trying to get funding through the city, and they had funding that was just sitting there. And, we had our meeting with the mayor, and he's like, well, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And it finally got to the point where we were jumping through so many hoops to get the funding. And he's like, well, it's approved. And we're like, no, sir, it's not, because we don't have the funds in our bank to go ahead and start the project. He goes, well, it should be. And I'm like, no, it's not. And, and that's kind of, the downfall of the city government, locally. They were like, well, it's approved, you can do it, but here, we're not going to give you the funding. And it's just amazing that you can do this project and not have a single penny from state, city, or federal to do the project.
Right. And I'm not going to lie, it was a heavy lift, but we did this with individual and corporate foundations, and my family foundation putting in the first big chunk of change to get it out of the ground, because I build buildings for a living, and I know low-income housing tax credits, they're there, but it's hoops of fire, as you mentioned, and lots of strings attached. And I just want to get this built and have residents move in because the need was so great and remains so great in Philadelphia and around the country. I didn't want to punch somebody in the face by them saying, no, you have to do it this way, or you can't do it that way, or it's going to take 6 months for us to review your permits. Or no, I just wanted to get in and get it done and show that it can be done and how it can be done. Now, if a developer somewhere has the stomach for LIHTC or new market tax credits or any of that, I don't dissuade them at all. I tell them the pitfalls of it. And if they want to make their own decision and say, it's okay, I can wait 18 months to 2 years to actually get the tax credits and then sell them on the open market and then be able to get the money in my coffers to be able to put a shovel in the ground, that's more patience than I possess, truly. When I see a problem, I want to fix it. I want a solution. I want a viable solution. And I want that solution to be done right, but also right now. I can't sit back and have some bureaucrat tell me how big my closet doors need to be. And that's a real thing, by the way. When you're taking government money, they will tell you how big the closet doors need to be or what kind of appliance, because I'm sure that Joe Mayer's brother makes the closet doors that are not standard, and so we have to use Joe Mayer Brothers closet door. You know what I'm saying? It
Right.
makes no sense. It adds cost to the project. It's not as easily procured. And to me, it's a shakedown. And I'm not going to have any parts of that. I'm going to build a building with first-class materials, with the vendors that I know and trust, and that I know that, that closet door isn't going to fall off its hinge because it's substandard, because some bureaucrat decided that's how big it needs to be. And that's the tip of the iceberg when you're talking about the strings the government puts on you. And yet we send billions of dollars overseas with no accountability, and nobody knows what the fuck it is. But they want me to use a specific closet door.
No, I agree. And so
Right. I'm sorry I
JR,
got the F-bomb. I apologize.
no,
Sometimes
you're good. You're
cursed
good.
like the sailor I could have been.
Hey, don't worry, I got your back. I'm all about the F-bombs. I use them like commas when I talk. So
Exactly. I was trying to keep it clean for the the family-focused audience here, but
when they allowed me to come on this podcast, it was never going to be clean. So it's
Right.
not even an option to keep it clean.
We're a bunch of veterans here. Cuss words they flow out of our mouths like spit some days.
right. So that's, it's an uphill battle, but it's a battle that needs to be fought and won. And just recently, we started putting out on our social media channels because it is Iowa caucus today. And so last week we started tagging very specifically every single candidate that's running on both sides and in the middle, and just saying, hey, you're talking a good game. Where do you stand on veterans advocacy and housing? It just came out from the housing agency that they expect that veterans homelessness and housing insecurity is going to go up by 7% this year. So we're already at 38,000 veterans that on any given night in America are sleeping not in safety. And this is not people in shelters. These are people who actually are out on the streets or in a church or in a train station or whatever. 38,000 any single night is a snapshot in time. And that's going to go up by 7%. The veterans facing housing insecurity is over 1 million. No candidates. I heard like a snippet of Ron DeSantis because he is a veteran that's running, but even he, like 2 sentences during a debate, and then they move on to who knows what. Who's talking about it? Nobody.
And the veteran population always gets overlooked. Here we are, we sign our name on that dotted line that we're going to protect our country until the day we die. And then when we come back and we get out of the military, it's kind of like, oh, screw you guys. We don't even care about you guys anymore. I don't know how many times we've talked about that and other podcasts and stuff. And it's just like, how can we change the focus of our government to focus back on the veteran community? And I know there's a lot of people out there like Don Bramer, who's in DC, that, he goes out there and lobbies for veterans and stuff like that. I think it's something that needs to be in the ear, start locally with, the city that you live in, and then move from the city to the state government, and then, go to DC. And it just needs to be a change for the veteran community out there. So.
Well, that goes back to the veteran community and VSOs. And it's always amazing to me because if you look across the country, there's like, but this changes on a regular basis, but I'm going to use this number because it's pretty accurate. There's about 8,800 ad hoc VSOs and charities across the country, all doing little snippety work that the government should be doing and is not doing. And they saw a need and they said, you know what, we're going to protect our veterans. So we're going to start a charity of our own, or we're going to start a VSO of our own. If those 8,800, take half of them, take 1,000 of them. If they all got together and formed a voting bloc and started their own caucus and got loud, then politicians would pay attention because there's an awful lot of people that those VSOs are reaching that not only vote, but they vote with rigor and enthusiasm. And I'm always shocked that nobody has done that, really just pooled all of the resources in the veteran community to one big voting bloc that says, y'all are going to listen to us or we're going to vote you out of office, city, state, and federal level. That's all it would really take. Not even a whole lot of money, just a whole lot of boots on the ground. In my never to be humble opinion, that's what I'm telling you.
No, I agree. I think that would raise some eyebrows. My wife she just said this. She agreed with you. She said, yes, yes, yes. She agrees with you.
All right, Julie, you and I, man, we're gonna get together and we're gonna start a caucus and kick ass and take names.
Hey, I'm there. I'll be your campaign manager. But no, so let's talk about the project in Philly up here real quick. So we talked about it earlier that it's kind of like a Lego blocks. Everything's built offsite, comes in, everything goes together with cranes. And if you don't mind asking, a project of that scale, how much money is involved in that? Like, say if somebody was wanting to do that locally here in Kentucky, how much money would have to be raised to have that done?
Okay, so it definitely differs by region because labor differs by region, but I'll use Philadelphia as an example. And then I can talk briefly about some other places in the country that we've looked and how that varies. So this building, which is 47 units and has a parking lot and full green space, amenity space inside, a community room. Every single apartment has its own appliances, its own washer dryer, its own water heater, and its own temperature control. So it really is a fully independent living apartment, including acquisition costs of land, entitlements, soft costs, and the building itself. It was $6 million. Okay. And we were about $500,000 over budget because of supply chain issues and the price of petroleum going through the roof. So speaking of roofs, most people say, oh, well, price of petroleum. And those of you who have ever done development or construction know this, but I'm going to say it for the sake of the rest of the audience. So gas prices go up because oil prices go up, right? What you don't realize is just how many things petroleum are in. So roofing material is made from petroleum. So we have a 15,000 square foot roof and petroleum goes up $10 a barrel. Our roof went up almost $100,000. The siding and facade materials also have petroleum products in them. Macadam and other pervious materials for your parking lot have petroleum in them. So every time, what do they call it? Putin's price hike. Every time that kicked in a little more and more and more, up went, the money that we had to spend. So we were about $500,000 over budget. Originally, the budget was 5.4 and change. Still a pretty good deal for a building of that size. We were just exploring an opportunity in somewhere in like northern central Florida and doing a site-built construction. Their per square foot cost is half of what it is in Philadelphia or any major big city, especially big cities that are controlled, like super controlled by unions. When you get south of the Mason-Dixon line, in most of your rural states, your labor is not as rare and people are more eager to work. So your labor costs go down. Depending on where you are in the country, you have to account for, as you all are figuring out right now, you have to account for snow loads, wind shears for hurricanes and tornadoes. So if we're building a cement block rather than sticks, it's going to vary. But I would tell you that if you look at our project and you say, I'm going to raise $6 million, we can build a building with you.
Nice. So Julie asked, when was this building constructed, the one in Philly?
So the building was constructed, let's see, what year are we in now? So we just had our grand opening in May of 2023. And it was constructed the tail end of 2021 through 2022. And then we came to a halt because we had our electrical components were disrupted by the COVID supply chain nonsense off of Long Beach, California, where even though the electrical components are made in the USA, components of those components were coming from Taiwan. And so they were on ships for a good 4 to 6 months, just sitting off of California. And we came to a screeching halt. What I will say is, again, power of bringing people and corporations into the fray that have a lot more power and knowledge and skills and network than I did. I was screaming bloody murder to anybody and everybody who would hear me, every single manufacturer of the components that we needed. And we had a multinational corporation who was a big donor of ours, and they got involved and started calling all their supply houses and threatening to pull their business if we didn't get first in line. And we bypassed about 20 different developments, big developments like skyscrapers and big market rate and for-profit developments, because they put a lot of economic pressure to get us to the front of the line. So, you know, I'm a very small person with a very big voice, but it's really nice to have friends in high places.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
I'm gonna borrow that, Danny, because I'm told that I'm short with a big fucking mouth. So now I'm gonna be like, I'm a small person with a big voice. I'm gonna switch that up on people now.
Yeah. So I used to serve on the board of the USO. Okay. And this is before USO World started to cannibalize the local USOs. So I was on the better version of the USO board. But one of my compatriots on my board at the time of my service, which was about 5 years long, I became very good friends with a Navy SEAL who was still active. You would never think in a million years from the outside. He's a lawyer. He was always very buttoned up in his suit. You didn't see the crazy tattoos until you were in, like, you know, off-board personal, you know, at a lunch somewhere at a pub, and he would disappear for 6-8 weeks at a time and wasn't allowed to tell anybody where he was. And he's just a super great guy. And we became very, very close friends. And one day after a board meeting where I completely lost my temper just at everybody sitting around the board, and he said to me, and I'm one of the few civilians on the board, so everybody is, and this is one of the problems that I see as a civilian in veterans and military charities, is that everybody defers to the next highest rank. And I've sat on boards where the admiral is a complete fucking schmuck. So I don't have to defer to that guy because he's a moron. Yes, he led battalions. I have no idea how he did it, but in this boardroom, you're a moron. So
I'll tell you how he did it. He had a bunch of us on his team. He took the credit. We did all the work.
That's right.
So that's how it works. He's an officer. Yeah. Like, he didn't do shit. Trust me.
That's right. And I was always fascinated. I mean, the guy who was running the board at the board chair at the time, he was some, like, you know, a 3-star general, retired or whatever, and he couldn't run a board meeting. I was fascinated. So anyway, long story longer is that this SEAL, Ryan, and we got to know each other really well. And after completely losing my temper, I mean, just a big obnoxious temper at a board meeting and everybody coming to a screeching halt, he, after the fact, he says, you know why I like working with you? Because I am a pinpoint laser focused sniper. And sometimes I need scorched earth, and that's you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, now that you said that, I'll tell you, I just text my buddy Al Hero there that I said, Dana Spain has a little gangsta in her. I like her. So, I was texting about you behind your back.
So Julie asked the question. She said, have most of the supply chain issues corrected?
That is an excellent question. And I'm going to say no. And they're about to get worse. So y'all are seeing what's happening in the Red Sea, right? Mm-hmm. And our pathetic response to what's happening in the Red Sea. And it's going to get worse, especially with the election in Taiwan and China starting to rattle swords because they see how weak we are with the reaction to all the various and sundry terrorist organizations. So already you have major shipping container companies that are either halting shipping altogether or now have to go around the Cape of Good Hope, right? And what does that do? That adds 6 to 8 weeks of delivery time, and it adds fuel surcharges and lots of labor costs that are going to be passed on to the distributors, that are going to be passed on to the consumers. So it's settled after COVID and things got okay for a minute, not great, but they certainly were making a comeback, especially as Southeast Asia was opening back up and factories were opening back up and they were catching up to the backlog. If anybody tried to buy a brand new car, for example, in 2020, 2021, and early 2022, there were no chips to actually make the cars go. And
yeah, the trucks suffered really bad from that.
yeah. And so that seemed to kind of level itself out. But now that we're seeing all the unrest, specifically in there, and then you're going to look at the Straits of Hormuz and around Taiwan, I'm very nervous that that disruption is going to throw a wrench in the system for development overall. I would tell you that the people that we fought out for the electric components now almost a year ago, some of them are still waiting for those same electrical components and have stopped building altogether. You see big companies, even real estate investment trusts that are going bankrupt across the country because they just can't keep up with their construction loans as interest rates rise, and their supply chain is really screwed. So for right now, I'm going to say okay, but if you listen to the talking heads and take it with a grain of salt, because they're not Nostradamus, but they seem to know what they're talking about, that sometime before the next election, if we don't get tougher, China is going to strike on Taiwan, and then our supply chains are going to be sideways.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Unfortunately, with America, we're dependent on so many foreign countries, and like you said, our lack of response of what's going on it blows my mind. I mean, I know we're not the world's police, but we still have to protect our allies. And if we show a weak response, then the rest of the other countries have to think that we're weak. So,
and right now, unfortunately, we are. Not to go down the slippery slope of a woke military and political bipartisanship here, but we had our chance, and we did stand up to Iran and some of the bad actors in the world. And then we changed administration and said, hell, come on in. The water's fine. Come on in. We'll give you stuff. We'll send you pallets of cash. We'll whatever you want to do, we'll kiss your robes. And the rest of the world takes notice and says, well, they're not going to come over and drop bombs on us. Maybe we can get away with some shenanigans. And they're testing the waters, and they're getting away with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, you are 100% correct on that. And Al's reaction to what you just said there was, I know he's got something to say.
Bro, I think I'm in love, Dana. So, no, I'm 100% with her. Like it's absolutely. I say all the time, I'm like, we're softer than baby shit right now. Like it is insane the direction that we've gone in, and it's scary because I don't feel bad for me. I might get lucky and live another 40 years, 50 years. I don't know, but I feel bad for my kids. Like they're fucked. Good luck, grandkids and children. Cause it's not, there doesn't seem like there's an upward approach, right? I mean, I'm not a big, politician, or politic guy, but I've been listening, and it's funny, like to hear like people say, like, if I get elected, I'm going to change shit back to the way it was. And then somebody else comes along and like, well, now I'm going to change it back. Like we are constantly one-upping each other, right? In our own country. Like we used to be revered and feared as a powerhouse, and now I just don't see that being the case. Like we're not the nation we used to be, and I don't know if it'll ever get back that way. My son was funny. He was like, "Do you ever think gas prices will go down?" Fuck no, they won't.
No,
because we're the consumer Americans. We're stupid. Like they raise the prices, we still need gas, and we're going to keep buying it. We don't give a shit. We never take a stand and say, "All right, we're going to push back, and we're not buying your foreign shit anymore. We're only going to buy American." Right? We're not. But unfortunately, unless we say, "Hey, we're only going to buy American. We're only going to support American industry, small business. We're only going to X, Y, and Z."
Right.
They're never going to change. They don't have a reason to. Like the housing market, there's no reason for them to adjust interest rates. They'll appease us and say, okay, they've dropped 1% or 0.5%. But the fact of them going back to where they're reasonable for the average middle class American, to buy housing or to buy products, right? Quality products. It's never going to happen. They don't have to, because we're stupid enough to continue to just buy and shell out our cash and continue to support the monster and feed this beast. It's never going to change. It's never going to go back to the glory days. It's just not, right? I mean, we talked about the Vietnam veteran era, and you go back before them, you talk about the Korean War vets and the World War II, like that, those generations, man, if we can get back to that thought process and the way that those people viewed service. And I mean, look at the numbers in recruiting across the globe, across the U.S. for all branches. Recruiting numbers are astronomically low. They're missing their mission constantly, and they're having to incentivize people. They're having to lower standards and then incentivize it monetarily, or have to coax you in. Like, I'll give you a bonus and you can get this. Like, we're having to give people shit for them to want to serve their nation. When years ago, people were proud and they like David said, they wanted to sign on that line. Like, there was people quitting their jobs and leaving the NFL and doing all this shit when 9/11 happened because they were drawn to the country. They were proud. They wanted to be a part. And now, shit, we're having to tell a kid, like, hey, I'll give you this, and this if you'll just join the military for a couple of years. Like, we're hell in a handbasket is putting it mildly, David. Like, I'm telling you, bro.
Well, I think the other part is that, not to sound like the aging Gen Xer that I am, but the next generation that's coming up, and you see it with all of the college protests and people protesting for terrorism and against America, is that pride of service, that pride of being an American is dwindling in the next generation because they're soft. They've never had hard times. They've never had a time where we were at real war. We're in a real war that affected our sovereignty, that affected, other than what's going on at the southern border, which I don't think that they pay any attention to. But the whole next generation is soft, and they hate America, and they hate our Constitution, and they hate our founding fathers, and they hate all of it. And you know what? They're going to be in for a very rude awakening, because there is going to be another major event like 9/11, except who knows when it's coming and where it's going to be and how big it's going to be. And then shit is going to hit the fan. Because
as long as you remind those people, hey, the reason you have the ability to talk stupid shit and act like an asshole and wear a dress and do all this stupid shit that you claim that you want to do is because somebody before you sacrificed and gave you the right to do those things. We defend the Constitution for you to have the ability to shit all over us, right? To burn our flags, to shit on us, because we're service over self. But unfortunately, our country is all about self. It really is. It's all about self, right? Whatever makes you happy, do it. Whatever your feelings are, then that's what's important. We care more about what somebody feels than reality, right? I've always been a big supporter of facts over feelings.
Right.
And I when I was in the military, I led that way. Like, it's facts over feelings, right? It's just because you don't like the way shit is doesn't mean I'm changing anything. This is how we're going to operate. This is how we're going to do this. You're either somebody's in life, you're the train or you're the tracks. Like, you can be either one. You want to get on this train, we'll get on down the road. But if you want to be the tracks, we'll just run you the fuck over. Like, my kids laugh because, life sucks. It does. Life is hard, right? You guys are supporting the homeless veteran community, and think about those individuals, right? My kids get to sleep in a warm bed and go into the refrigerator and grab whatever they want at any time of the day. There are people who gave you the right to do that don't even have a place to rest their head, right? They're going to, especially in Philly, it's cold as hell. They're going to be scrambling around just to find somewhere that's not blizzard temperatures to try to sleep. It's appalling, right? It's really disgusting to see the way that things are, right? We look at a football, and NFL's going on right now, right? We got athletes that people are like, oh, we care more about those individuals who don't do shit. Let's be honest. You play a fucking sport. Congratulations, you can catch a ball and run really fast. You ain't shit. And then we do our veteran community.
Right.
Our veterans community as a whole, are struggling. We have high rates of suicide, homelessness. I mean, you gave the numbers. That is absolutely insane. And we've even got college kids now, like, making millions of dollars it's absolutely absurd. And I'm old. I don't give a shit. People are like, oh, it's because you don't see things the way it is today. No. I see things the way that they should be today. Like, I don't care about how it looks. It's bad. It's very, very bad, right?
I would love to have
sad.
high school and college students come through and really commune with our residents and understand the struggles that they face and overcome, and truly what they're grateful for. So we had a sort of Christmas in July, and then we had another holiday party later on. And as our residents move in, we raise money so that they're not moving into an empty box, right? They're moving into a home. Well, what makes a home? To me, you cannot have a home without a coffee maker. I mean, that's just obnoxious, right? You need a coffee maker, right? Every home needs a coffee maker, but you also need a warm blanket, and you need a fuzzy pillow, and you need a robe and slippers to make you feel like a human being. And our residents are coming in with nothing. So they put a wish list together, and they're so humble, truly, that we say, well, here, top 5 items that you'd like. We'll give you all of the personal care items, a fresh toothbrush and shampoo and the rest of it. Not that. Just tell us, 5 things that you want for your apartment that are important to you. And whether it's a television or an air fryer or, a fuzzy robe or whatever. And one of the gentlemen in a wheelchair just wanted a warm blanket that he could wrap his legs in while he was outside, smoking a cigarette in the parking lot in his wheelchair. When he was presented with this blanket, you would have thought that it was, $1 million made of gold. And he was just so grateful for having a warm blanket. And that's what I wish that our high schoolers and our obnoxious university students could see, is that sometimes it's that one small thing that everybody takes for granted that makes a difference in somebody's life because they actually did sacrifice. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen anytime in the near future, but I'd like to throw that around because it's amazing.
So my daughters, when I go out and do the stuff that I do with the veterans that I help, like my youngest daughter, she goes out with me when we go demo these houses and stuff, and she sees these homeless veterans that are how appreciative they are when it comes to getting things that they didn't have, and that's one thing that me and my wife that we wanted to show them. We try to take them to a soup kitchen just so they can help give food out to homeless veterans and stuff like this. And some organizations like, oh, they're too young. And I'm like, well, when should I bring them? When they're 16, when they don't really care?
Yeah.
If you start them at a very young age, I'm not saying 3, 4, but if they're 7, 8, 9, 10, let them go to a soup kitchen and serve food to a homeless person and see how that bowl of soup warms that veteran's heart or that homeless person's heart up. And I think children today, like Al said earlier, they just don't care because they got that mentality. Well, I got everything I need at home. Why would I care about what that person's going through? And then my wife, she made a comment. She said, my kids learn about 9/11 from a book. They have no frame of reference. That's sad that there's a lot of American people out there that just care about what's going on everywhere else, but what's going on here in our own country.
Yeah. I had people in my neighborhood flying like Croatian or whatever the hell was going on. Ukrainian flags. You fucking shit me? Fuck Ukrainian. Let's drop a big ass bomb, make it one big ass lake. We'll go vacation there. I don't understand how I've got right down I live in the panhandle of Florida. Like, that's where I think panhandling was invented. Like, there's not a street corner when you drive through downtown Pensacola that ain't got a veteran or someone on the corner looking for food or money or hungry. Like, and we're worried about sending money to damn Ukraine. Like, are you shitting me right now? And you got people in this country flying. You'll burn our flag. You'll burn my flag, but you'll fly that flag because you're a libtard, and you're like, oh,
it's a virtue signal. They're the same people that had the BLM.
Correct. It makes you feel good because you got a Ukrainian flag in the neighborhood. And you're like, I'm support. You ain't done shit. How about you pack up? I'll loan you a rifle. We'll drop your ass off in the middle of Ukraine. We'll see how you fare, bro. Like, let's really, you want to support? Let's go really support. Like, it's crazy to me that you'll burn my flag, but you'll fly somebody else's shit. And I support Israel all day long. But you're flying an Israeli flag because it makes you feel warm and fuzzy. Like, I support Israel. Support your own your own homeless community, support your own veterans. It ain't even got to be a homeless veteran. Support something in this country, right?
Right.
Do something for somebody on the home front, because it matters here. Like it's Ukraine. That shit's sad. I hate it for the kids and the families that are getting fucked up. But you know what? We got a lot of shit going on here and people are getting fucked up, but nobody seems to care, right? Because it's, you pull up to a red light, there's a homeless veteran asking for $1, and you turn your radio up and you look ahead and hope to God they don't make eye contact. Are you shitting me? Like, come on.
Al and I are going to be best friends.
Bruh.
There you go. Al's everybody's best friend. So JR said earlier, I didn't bring this up, but he said not $1 should go abroad when we can't even take care of the people that sacrifice their body and their life for the defense of this country.
Absolutely.
I would agree 100% with that.
Absolutely. No question. In fact, I was, I have a lot of like-minded friends, and we were like, well, could we just have another Boston Tea Party except virtually? Like, I don't want to pay my taxes if I don't know that they're actually going to better my country. Is that a thing? Could we do that? Could we just collectively stop paying taxes unless we know exactly where they're going and we agree with it?
You know what's crazy, Dana, is I'm retired. I retired as an E8, so I get a modest retirement that I earn. Like, I'm not, people are like, oh, you get nobody's giving me shit, bro. It took 22 years of my life watching my kids grow up in pictures and from combat zones, right? The average veteran, I mean, the numbers are crazy with the way, inflation, the way the US is. The average veteran, if you're a retired veteran with 100% disability, you still have to have a full-time job, because that's not enough to live off of, right? I served 22 years. My body's broken. I'm all fucked up, right? Mentally, right? My back hurts. I'm right. I'm labeled. I'm crazy. I don't get enough in retirement or disability to support my family, right? Or to be able to survive. I got to go out and get another job, but we're going to send billions of dollars all over other countries. It is very, very absurd the way the system works. It's not in favor of the veterans, right? It's almost like they give you your disability. You're like, all right, that's good enough for you, right? Good enough. We gave you disability. You got a retirement. You should shut the fuck up and be happy with that. But that's not the case. Like, there's no way to survive off of that. And there are veterans out there who I'm lucky and able enough that I can get up and go to work every day. I can get up, I can go to work. I've been blessed to be able to do so. But there are people out there who can't, right? Whether it's mental health issues because they don't function well in those environments, right? You can't, some people just can't go to work and work it, and you punch people in the face, right? Some people can't, whether it's mental health or their bodies, physically, they can't stand on their feet because people are like, oh, you go get a job. Like, veteran, get a job. Like, stop it.
Hey, but I'm gonna blow your mind even further.
I can't.
Because I'm gonna blow your mind even further, because for our residents who are able-bodied and who want to work, if they make over a certain income, now it's not an income that's astronomical, it's
right,
pretty nominal, but if they make over an income level that's probably hasn't been raised since the 1960s, even though they get incremental standard of living increases, if they make over that income, they'll lose their ability to live in my village.
What?
Because now they make too much money.
Yep.
So they're disincentivized. Is that a word?
To work. Yes.
To work. Because then they're going to lose their housing voucher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that number $12,500? Is that what the number is? Because there is a number when you're permanent and total unable to work. You can have a job that $12,500, and the government seems to be right on that $12,500 thing for.
It's something ridiculous. It's something that you can't live off of if you're not having your housing taken care of for you. Right.
That's crazy.
So, and by the way, to me, and I think that you'll know this even better than I, that the sense of idleness, of not having a purpose, of getting up in the morning and going and doing something productive, is tragically traumatizing, especially to people who are used to having a purpose that came out of the military, right? So I want to go get a job at Walmart as a greeter. Okay, but now they're paying $18 an hour because they are. And if I take that job for more than 5 or 6 hours a week, then I lose my voucher for housing. So now I have a lot of time on my hands, and what am I going to do at that time? Something productive.
Well, Dana, now they don't make enough money at Walmart if they worked full time to have a home and buy groceries and pay bills.
Right.
And if they take the job, now they're homeless. Now they can't live in the. It's absurd. It's almost comical, right? I mean, it really is.
Right. Yeah.
It's almost like the government wants people to live off of the welfare or
they do. The government was never designed to do what they're doing. Like if you look at the Constitution, the government is there to govern, and they're not there to. The government is not designed to hand you food and hand you money. They're not. They were never created. What we know is our government, right? They're not there to hand out. They're not supposed to take care of the masses. That's socialism. They're like it doesn't make any sense, right? They're there just to govern. But you're right, Will. If they want their hands in the pot and in everybody's pocket, so you're dependent, right? They make it so much easier for the welfare system to just run like it does, right? Because hey, if I decide I'm going to live on welfare, if I have a couple more kids or I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get a little bit more money. So then I become dependent on everything they give me, whether it's welfare and food or housing or cell phones or whatever. So you become so dependent that we start assuming that that's what the government is that's their job. Their job, and people say it like, oh, the government should be taking care of us. No, you should be taking care of yourself. You're an able-bodied American. Go get a fucking job and take care of yourself. The government's just there. That's not how we were created, right? Yeah. They're very tyrannical in their approach now because we've become blind and accustomed to free handouts and free shit and stimulus checks and all this shit, right? We needed stimulus checks because you idiots shut down the country. Yeah. So now you own us. Now we've shut the country down. You can't do anything. You can't do. But we're going to take care of you and give you a stimulus check, right? They control everything, every aspect of everybody's daily lives. It's absurd,
and it's getting worse.
You're right, Dan. It is getting worse, and they did a news story not too long ago, maybe about a year ago, and they were talking about people living on welfare, and they were interviewing this one lady, and she already had 4 kids, and she was pregnant with her 5th, and she's an able-bodied person. Like, she's able to work, she's able to do this. She goes, why would I go get a job when the government's going to pay me an extra $1,000 for the next kid I have? And I'm like, that don't make no sense.
As long as she doesn't have a male figure in the household.
And that is why we go back to the traditional families. Like, they're not there because it's more profitable for somebody to not have a man, a father figure, right, for their kids, or somebody like it. So you have broken homes, which leads to higher crime rates, right? More poverty. The institutional system being overcrowded with younger males. It's absurd, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. So
you know what, y'all? First of all, it's past my cocktail time, and second of all, now I really need a stiff drink. Thanks, Al.
I'm about to grab.
I thought we were going to be talking about housing our heroes, and we went right down a rabbit hole.
I got some Eagle Rare in the back. I'm about to crack open in a minute. Then Dana got my blood spun. I'm ready to go out here and get into a fight. Anybody want to fight in the house? I'm about to go pick a fight with my kids. Hey, bud.
Well, Dana, I want to thank you for coming on here and talking about veterans villages. If somebody wanted to get in contact with you or your organization, how would they go about doing that?
Right through our website. I answer every single email personally, and it is, as you put up on the screen, thank you very much, veterans, plural, villages, plural.org. They can donate, they can contact us, they can send us information about opportunities that they may have to build a village in their neighborhood. I talk to everybody.
Awesome. So we also got the link out there in the chat there. So I want to thank you for coming on and spending your time, and we definitely will have to have you back on, and I'm going to work on some things here on my end because I know that the need for a veterans village here in Kentucky is very, very much needed. We have Wake Ministries and Veterans Rural Outreach. They're the ones that did the 7 tiny homes up in Shelby County. So I'm going to get them involved, and hopefully we can get something here in Kentucky because the need is needed. So I'm going to start working that aspect on my end And I don't know about Al and Ty, what they got going on in their respective areas, but I'm sure Ty or Al reach out to have you on Triple Threat Vets podcast as well. And then we got a tip of the spear coming up. We might bring you on as a guest on that and let you talk on that. Now we get together once a month. There's 5 different podcasts that get together, and we just talk about what's going on currently throughout the country and stuff like that. So thank you again for coming on and spending this 2 hours with us, almost 2 hours. So go get you that.
Thanks very much for having me. I had an awfully good time, and now I do need a stiff drink.
It's all Al's fault. We'll just blame Al.
Hey, I'm about to get one too.
Thanks,
well, thank
guys.
you, Dana. You have a great night.
Talk
See you
soon.
later.
Have a great one. You'll definitely hear from me soon.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dude, how cool was that?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So we had him on before, and Al was on with Edgar.
Yeah, she couldn't make it the last time. Remember, like man, I'm glad she came on. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's super cool, and what they do for veterans in their respective communities. I mean, that little that apartment building is like a Lego, and they just put it together. It's like, holy cow. It's super, super neat, man. I'm excited about seeing what they're doing, and
I really like what she said about the what did she say, 8,800 or 1,800? There was some astronomical number of veteran service organizations that are all essentially doing the same thing, and then if we could get some of those to kind of unify their efforts. So there's some brothers of mine here in Houston that are trying to build a camp. So this would be something akin to the Lone Survivor Foundation, but if they could meet up with that organization and we can create some synergy between the Tip of the Spear network, that's what I'm about.
Yeah, I'm definitely about that. Like, we got the Royal Call Foundation, who I had on last night, and we got Veterans Rural Outreach, and we got Wake Ministries. I'm going to get those guys together. We did have a Kentucky in a Coalition for Heroes a few years back, and it kind of disappeared. And I'm going to try to see if I can get back in touch with those guys and see if we can get something like that here in Kentucky, because if you get a bunch of veteran service organizations that work together, yeah, I agree, Julie. She was great.
Thanks for watching the whole podcast, Julie.
I know she never watches the whole podcast. It's you two.
Beat on
you
the door or beat on the floor. So are they upstairs right now?
Yeah, they're okay. Julie's right above me. Actually, she's kind of at so 12 o'clock she'd be up.
There she is.
I hear you. Audible tone heard.
Yeah, heard it.
Yeah, so
putting an SOS at the house.
Oh yeah, I know when it's time to get off, she starts kicking the floor up there. So, but no, yeah, if we can get a bunch of veteran service organizations together and bring this to Kentucky, I'm all for it, because it's needed. And like I said earlier,
impressive. It's amazing. I mean, it's just so crazy, man. What they do, like that. I think that's what they're doing is needed everywhere. I bet there's not a major city in this country that doesn't have a homeless veteran population or a homeless veteran crisis. I mean, like I said, I live in Pensacola. Like, I mean, if you're gonna be homeless, come on down here, because I guess it's warm and you're good, right? Not tonight, but. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a need, like you said, Kentucky, golly, I mean, across the country, there's got to be a huge need for this. Like she said, Ty gave the number. That's a big number.
Yeah,
and that's that's an estimated number. That's just the ones that they know of. That ain't the ones that they can't track or that aren't on the radar.
Yeah,
Houston is the 4th biggest city in America, and so we have a very large homeless contingent that has, shanty towns that are downstairs or downtown near the Minute Maid Park. There's
tents and blankets everywhere.
Yeah. Thousands and thousands of people. And so amongst those, there are a lot of veterans as well. So
come on, Julie, you got a room. You don't got to be homeless when you come here. I got a room for you. You're good.
So there's about 15 or 20 VSOs of some way, shape, or form in Houston that try to get together and help these people. So I know if we did pool our efforts, and if she's got the matrix on how to get funding,
yes,
how to get people together, that's a 90% solution sometimes, because a lot of people have great ideas. So I'm looking forward to marrying her up with some of the people that we have here in Houston, because I do want to retort one thing we said earlier. I do believe that we're the world police. I do believe we're capable of doing things abroad with our foreign policy, as well as taking care of things back here at home. I do believe that our generation specifically that's in the military that literally deployed so much, the kids these days that are in high school and a little bit older are our children, right?
Yep.
So they saw
What we
the
did.
shit that we went through. I mean, I deployed 7 times. So
Right.
we, by doing our jobs, have turned our kids' generation off to the military just because they know what it did to their family. So there's something to be thought about there too. I believe that there's leaders in the ranks of the military, all branches, that are capable of doing everything that we did when we were at war during the Persian Gulf, Vietnam, right up into when I was deploying a bunch. So I believe they're in the ranks. I believe Leanne Hester of military police, Silver Star winner, she's deployed right now in Kuwait. She's been in for a while, but she is, I think, she might be a lieutenant now. I think she got commissioned, but she's an amazing veteran soldier that's been around for a long time, and she's still in the ranks, still doing the job. So I know there's great leaders out there. Yeah. And I feel the same way with veterans when they get out.
Yeah.
They want to transition into something, they should get into politics. I love
I agree. Yeah.
All the veterans that are in politics. So, I don't mean to wax poetic on your show, Willis, but
I think I think Ty's right though. I think there is. I think that I don't know if it's the way it's packaged, maybe, or the recruiting efforts aren't there. Like you said, my kids have all discussed, joining the military and wanting to and all that kind of stuff. But it's because that's like I joined because my dad joined, and he joined because But I think the overall, and maybe outside the military family dynamic, I don't know if it's just maybe it ain't packaged well, right? I mean, it's not.
No, my 2 daughters, both of them have said that, they're thinking about going in the military and
Air Force, ladies, Air Force, do it.
So Lorelai, so my youngest, Lo, she wants to be a combat medic, but she wants to be with Marines.
Navy.
So I'm like, well, you have to go be a Navy corpsman if you want to be with the Marines, or you can go into the Army and be an Army medic. And does the Air Force even have a medical side?
Yeah.
I don't know if they do or not.
Yeah, they do.
And then my oldest,
pararescue and all that. Yeah.
Okay. And then my oldest,
EAs in the sky.
Okay. So, and then Grace, she wants to go into the FBI when she gets out of high school and college and all that. But I told her, I said, the best thing for you to do is go into the Air Force, work your way up that way, and then go into the FBI. I said, that'll give you a better shot. They don't get out of the chairs in the chair force. But yeah, no, I agree. We, when I joined the Marine Corps, I had family members that were military. My dad was in the military. My uncles were military. And I was like, well, I'm going in the military. And I joined the Marines. Nobody in my family went to the Marines. They either Army or Air National Guard or something of that nature. And I'm like, I'm going to go in the Marines. And then I tell my daughters now, I'm like, look, if you want to go in the military, go Air Force, Navy, Army, don't go Marine Corps. And that's just me being dad. If they go in the Marine Corps, fine, let them go in the Marine Corps. But depending on what they want to do in the military, and I'll support them. So, but like Dana said, doing that house or that apartment, that village that they got up there, they didn't have no state funding, no federal funding, no city funding. They did that through donations and stuff. So people, if you're out there watching, go to veteransvillages.org. I'll put it back here on the screen again. Veteransvillages.org. Go there, donate. If you want it to come to your part of the country, no matter where that might be, reach out to them. Dana will respond to the emails, and hopefully we can get this moving across the country. So, Al, Ty, I want to thank you guys for coming on and hanging out with me, and I can't wait to see you guys' show that you got coming up on Thursday. I know my family loves watching you guys, and especially my wife. She loves you guys, and she's like, "Oh, why? Well, I'm agreeing with Al. Oh my God, this is scary."
Be careful with that, Julie. I'll get you in trouble agreeing with this guy.
Yeah. Al is our nuclear option. We know if it can't be fixed any other way, You can just put Al on it, and he's going to fix it.
Oh man, I love it.
But no, I love you, man. I appreciate you letting us come on again, Willis. It's always a good time, man, hanging out with you guys. So.
No, I love having you guys on. I got Ty now. He's one of my new team members on HomeFront Sitrep. So
nice.
Oh yeah, I'll throw some graphics in there, man. We're gonna make this work. I love what you do. Some of the things that we don't do and we're not like keying on, which is specifically homelessness and veterans. We don't talk about that much on our podcast.
Right.
So to come on here and be able to talk about that just makes our net this much bigger, man. That's why I love the fact that you're from Kentucky. That's what originally made me like you guys. But now you guys are just like family, like especially your podcast. I've not gotten to know everybody else, and I'm a very I don't know, reclusive person. So the fact that we've gotten along this well, it's amazing, and it's a great I guess story to be told about how veterans can get along. Basically, because they're like-minded. We never known each other before this.
No, not until I saw you guys, reached out to you guys, and started talking with you guys.
Right.
You guys are, you guys, the Triple Threat crew, Rich LaMonica with Misfit Nation. There you go. You guys have become family. My family loves watching you. I love watching you and supporting what you guys do, and you guys coming, on my podcast and supporting what I do. And it goes back to the whole collaboration. As veterans, we have that sense of camaraderie. I didn't know Ty, I didn't know Al before this, and hell, I feel like I've known you for years.
I know. That's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy. And what you guys do with your podcast, the people, the guests that you have come on. I got your Matt Johnson, who's going to be making me a shirt from one of the other podcasts with Dr. Teresa Larson. And instead of dumb it down, we're saying marine it down. It's going to be written in red crayon. So it's going to be a co-branded shirt on Got Your Six Cultures, same flag, same oath.com. So there you go. It'll be on there. And then we got another shirt coming up too that Dr. Teresa Larson, she said, have you met my friends Vicious and Delicious, talking about her biceps? We're going to have that shirt up there as well. It's going to be co-branded. And
have you met the twins?
Yeah, there you go. Have you met the twins? I love it. I love it. So I just love, the little community that we're building, with Triple Threat and, our tip of the spear that we got going on. And there you go.
I appreciate it, Rick. Hey, and I got your other poem. I'm going to be sending that to the guys. We'll put that up on the show for real. I like that one as well. Thank you. Are you a bass player?
He is.
Did I not know this before?
I'm jumping, fellas. My wife.
And that looks like it's
a
nice bit of a rock bass player. So nice.
So Rick is one of my sponsors. He's with Louisville Local Entertainment, and he is a bass player. He plays in two bands. One he's restarting up called Fiery Phoenix, and then what's the name of the other one, Rick? The one that you're there you go. That's
what I say when I was reading the poem, but like when Scott read it, it was so eloquent. I was like, no, I'm not going to say that and look stupid, but in the future you are going to be, it's Rick Ames, bitch.
Space Grazer, that's this other band.
There you go.
And I'll tell you what, we're getting ready to do a Distorted Static podcast I'm going to talk to you about. Rick is going to be involved with that. We got another Marine, Bill Rawson, who's going to be involved with that. And then also Chris Hawks of Talents is going to be involved. And we're going to bring in the whole musical aspect.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about that. I'm excited.
Talking about different, with different bands from around the country and stuff like that. So
yeah.
And then Rick does have a shirt that says I'm Rick Ames, bitch. So it's pretty,
I'm gonna have
pretty
to get
neat.
that one. I'm gonna have to get that one. All right, brother, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Ty, you be careful, and I will talk to you soon, brother.
All right, for sure.
Later, man. Man, I tell you what, tonight was an awesome episode with Ty and Al jumping on, and then having Veterans Villages right here again, veteransvillages.org. Go check out their mission and what they do. It's simply amazing. If you want that in your area, reach out to Miss Dana Spain and her group up there. Man, it's simply amazing. And you know what? I got to pay the bills before I jump off here. Like I said, go check out talents.com or Louisville Local Entertainment. Mr. Rick Ames there. Reach out to him or Chris Hawks. So I'm going to go ahead and play these videos real quick.
owner of Talon Talents here, and I just want to say that we are ecstatic to be a major sponsor of HomeFront Sitrep, a community that is ran by veterans and made for veterans. So thank you for tuning in. Talon Talents was formed in order to create a music scene that was together in the form of a collective, so that no one has to do everything on their own. And guess what? We've been doing this for free for over a year. So please go and check out Talon Talents through Facebook or through our official website at www.talontalents.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for tuning in to HomeFront Sitrep, a veteran-owned and operated podcast just for
My name's Rick Ames. I own Louisville Local Entertainment, a company for music shows, promotions, and bookings in the Louisville music scene. As a veteran, it's my honor to support and sponsor local veteran-owned businesses such as HomeFront Sitrep, made by veterans for veterans. So if you're in the music business and need some help booking or promoting a show for free, look me up. Louisville Local Entertainment. And thanks for tuning in to HomeFront Sitrep.
Man, like I said, check us out. We got some cool things coming up. Next week, we got, let's see who we got coming up on the upcoming episodes. January. So January 21st, we got Dina Parrott with Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs. She's going to come on and talk about the women's program that they have there. Then I got She Serves Sheroes coming up on Monday, the 22nd. Then we have Miss Tabitha Bartley. She's coming up. She's a host of a podcast called Oath We Took. I believe that's the name of it. She's coming up. And then we got Lady Veterans Connect coming up to end of January. And then we got all kinds of stuff coming up in February as well. Just stay tuned and check us out, man. And I'm excited. And I want to thank you guys for coming on here, watching every week. You guys are the reason why I do what I do. And thanks to my beautiful wife, Miss Julie Willis here. She supports me in my endeavors and my craziness. So I want to thank her and my children. I love them to dearly. And without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So like I say, always stay safe out there. And I got your 6.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Stay safe out there. I got your 6.